Right. Well, I want to start with a story. It was a few years back. I had gotten a call from my pastor, Pastor Greg Surratt. Some of you may know him. He planted Seacoast Church. It's one of the most influential churches in the country. And he's been my pastor for a long time. But in this moment, when he had called me several years ago, I had known him, worked for him for a little while, but I was just recently had been kind of put into a new role where I was working really close to him. And I was new-ish in my relationship with him. And he calls me, very last minute thing, and he says, hey, do you want to go to this conference thing that I've heard some of the young people? Now, I was kind of hurt in that moment because I thought I was the young people. But he says, hey, I've heard some of the young people talking about this conference. I want to go check it out, see what it is. Now, I'm thinking like, well, sure. Number one, my boss is calling me. My new-ish boss, as far as working directly with him, is calling me, saying that he wants to go to a conference. But I'm racking my brain. I'm like, what conference could he be talking about? Because I really didn't know all the conferences and what was going on. I'm like, hey, I said, so what conference are you thinking about going to? And he says, the Catalyst Conference. Now, for those of you who don't know what Catalyst is, and if you're not in the church world, like church staff world, you wouldn't know, but Catalyst is one of the biggest ministry conferences, gatherings in the country. Thousands of people, like 15,000 people would be there that year that we went, are gonna gather of church professionals. It's in this massive arena in Atlanta. And I know something, because I do know about this conference, that maybe he doesn't know. And I'm thinking like, this conference has been sold out for months. Everybody shout months. It's been sold out for months. You could not get a ticket. If you wanted to get a ticket, you couldn't get a ticket. So I didn't want to sound assuming. I didn't want to push back on my boss too much, but I was like, hey, so Pastor Greg, right, you know that Catalyst Conference is sold out, right? You know that, right? And he just goes, I know. And so I'm like, what? What's going on? So now I'm 34 years old this time. I am fairly new, like I said, in this role where I'm close to Pastor Greg, and I'm thinking like, I don't want to call my pastor out. I don't want to act like I seem like he's, think he's dumb or something. So I'm like, well, I mean, how exactly then are we getting into this conference? Because I'm thinking to myself, like, you can't just walk in there, right? Like, you can't go to a conference and just walk in there. And he says something I'll never forget. I've actually taught this principle for a long time now. He says, listen, we're just gonna walk fast, act like we know where we're going, and everything will be fine. And I'm like, I don't think everything's gonna be fine. So we fly to Atlanta. We go straight to the venue from the airport. We have not even considered hotels. And there are thousands of people just everywhere. Church staff people with conference lanyards on, event staff at every entrance. And then there's this layer after the event staff where there's security checking bags and checking credentials at the door. And I'm already imagining that Bon Kwee is gonna be like, security, when we try to walk through there. And this place is completely locked down. Everyone there either bought a ticket or works there. There is a clear line between people who belong there and people who don't belong there. Like, it's been drawn. And here is Pastor Greg and I on the wrong side of that line that's been drawn. No tickets, no credentials, no lanyards, no bags even. No reason on earth to be walking into this conference right now. We shouldn't be there. And Pastor Greg just goes, chin up, steady pace, and just moves like he knows where he's going. He's got his George Jefferson on. He's just moving on up. He's just going. And he's going like somebody is expecting him. So I match his energy, because that's what you do when you're someone like that. I match his pace. I stay with him. I watch what he does, eyes forward, and we're getting closer and closer and closer to where they're going to check us. And I'm like, we're getting ready to get put on the ground. Like, they're getting ready to be like, what are you trying to do? Why are you trying to sneak in this place? And then we just walked right in. Like, nobody stopped us. Nobody asked a question. Every door just opened. It was like the Wizard of Oz. When they go from black and white to color, we're just walking through the arena, and I'm like genuinely going, I have no idea what's happening right now. I have no ticket. I have no credential. I have nothing that should get me into this place. And yet, here I am. Now, here's what I'm gonna tell you through this whole sermon. I had something that got me access. I just didn't realize what it was at the time. I couldn't explain it at the time. And I'm gonna go back to that story in a little while because it took me a long time to be able to figure out exactly what I did have and to understand what was actually going on and what was happening. And then I started to see that, but something was happening. But I want you to shout out my sermon title real quick. Say this, say, you can't just walk in there. Say it real loud like that. Say, you can't just walk in there. And that's my sermon title. So we're starting a new series today called Ordered. And we're going to spend 3 weeks in the book of Leviticus. I see you. I see that face up there in the balcony. That face is someone who tried to read the Bible in 1 year, but your read the Bible in 1 year plan died somewhere in the second chapter of Leviticus. Leviticus is that book where Bible plans go to die. You know it. I know it. You're like, Leviticus, make me want to cuss. That's what it is. Kill the animal, don't kill this one. Too many spots, too little spots. Don't eat this, don't touch that, touch this. When you first read it, it sounds like the most exhausting HOA manual in the history of human civilization. Except instead of arguing about the color of a mailbox, it's arguing about goats. So I guess it's like an HOA manual if you live in Macedonia, like that kind of deal, right? But we have believed a lie about Leviticus, I think. And the lie is that it's just a bunch of rules. Because you said, it's just a bunch of rules. That's all it is. Leviticus is just a list of rules. It's not a bunch of rules. I want to tell you what Leviticus is. And it's going to be hard for you to believe this, but follow along this whole series and you're going to see it. It is a love letter. Now, I want to be honest with you. Even knowing that it's a love letter, we're not going to study Leviticus verse by verse. We're not going to go through every verse. If you're already canceling your plans to come back for the next 2 weeks, we're not doing that. Because Leviticus is still a hard read. But I want to show you that God is saying something to us through this book. He's got this system that he's working out. And Leviticus is God saying something that God actually has never said in quite the same way until the book of Leviticus. He's not speaking from a mountain covered in fire. He's not sending a message through a burning bush that never stops burning. That's not what he's doing. He is saying something that he hasn't said so far. Leviticus is God saying, I want to live with you. I want to live with you. I want to be present with you. I want to speak to you. I want to be in relationship with you. It's God saying for the first time to his people, I really want to be with you, in proximity with you. That Leviticus 1:1 says this, the Lord, the God who created the universe, called to Moses, a man just like you and I. He called to Moses, called to him, spoke to him. He wanted to be in relationship with him. Where does he call to him? From the tabernacle. We'll talk more about that in a minute. And he said to him, what is the tabernacle? It's a tent. It's in the middle of their camp, the middle of the place where they live. And he says, I want my address to be the center of your neighborhood. The entire book is answering one question, really. How do people who keep making messes out of their lives, keep returning to sin, keep over and over again messing it up and then repenting, messing it up and then repenting, just like you and I do, how do they stay close to a holy God? That is it. That's Leviticus. In fact, God says later on in Leviticus, he says, I will live among you. That's crazy to think about. The God who created the universe saying, I want to live among you. He says, I will not despise you. What does that mean? Sin is ugly. Sin makes us do ugly things. Sin makes us an ugly people. And yet God says, I will not despise you. I will walk among you. What is that pointing back to? The Garden of Eden. When God walked with them. I will be your God. And listen to this. You will be my people. Oh, it's saying so much if you understand the people of God and where they've been and how they've known God and what they've known about God. This is a new message from him that says, I'm going to make a way to live among you. See, to understand Leviticus, you really have to understand where Israel is, when this book begins, and it's much like where we are often with God, where we've messed up and things have gone wrong, but God has come back. And so you get there by reading the Bible. Yes, you hear us say all the time, you should read the Bible, but you get there most of all by studying the Bible. And there's a difference between reading the Bible, which is great, and studying the Bible. In fact, we believe there's such a difference that we've got something going on June the 4th. Everybody say June 4th. June 4th, we're doing a class called How to Study the Bible. Now, you might be going, well, I need a class on how to read the Bible first. So I'm gonna give you the class on how to read the Bible right now. Read the Bible. All right, there's how to read the Bible. Now you're ready for 102, class 102. Go and say how to study the Bible. And you can see how the whole thing is connected as one story, how you can pick a book up like Leviticus and know exactly where you are, looking at the whole narrative of the Bible, where Jesus is in it, because that's what we want to do. We want to find Jesus in all of it. And so if you want to know God through his word and not just know about him, you need to be in that room on that day. June 4th, say it again, say June 4th. You can go to the help desk. Y'all didn't say that enthusiastically enough for me. Say June 4th, because you want to be there. Go to the help desk, find out more information, and you can sign up. So when you study the Bible, you start to understand the whole of the Bible. And what we know about the people of God moving into Leviticus is that they've just come out of 400 years of slavery. 400 years. They don't have a culture of their own. They don't have a homeland of their own. They don't have a way of being in the world outside of being someone else's property. And what they have seen, though, is that there is a God who dismantled the most powerful empire on the earth, parted a sea, and walked them out on dry land so that he could give them their freedom. And so that they could be his people. And now that same God, the God who was great enough, say God is great. The God who was great enough to split the sea is good enough to say, I want to move into the neighborhood. I want to live among you. I want to speak to you. And so he gives Moses these detailed instructions for the tabernacle. It's a tent, a portable tent, designed to be assembled right in the center of the camp. And he gives him these instructions on how to set it up in the center of the camp, not on the edge of the camp, not a day's journey away, but right in the center. And God's address is in the middle of the mess. You're like, my life's a mess. God says, I want to live right in the middle of it. I want to be there among you. And that is extraordinary to think about. To think about what that means, that the God who shook the mountain, the God who turned the Nile to blood, the God whose glory cloud lit up the sky that they had been following, wants to live next door, wants to be present with us, wants to have proximity to us. But here's the problem, and for lack of a better term, saying it's a problem because I don't want to say there's a problem with God, but the problem is God is holy, like completely holy, set apart holy. And the people around that tent are just like you and I. They are not holy. We are human. We lie. We fail each other. We hurt each other. We make choices we shouldn't make. We carry sin and shame and all the mess that comes with our lives right into the presence of God when we go with him. And that comes with being a human. And a holy God cannot coexist with all of that without there being a way to deal with it. Not because he doesn't want to be near them, because he's already made it clear. He wants to be near us. But because two things, perfect holiness and undealt with sin, cannot share space together without something giving way. So what does he do? Does he move the tent to the edge of town? Okay, I'll go right over here to the border of town. I'll just be as far away from you guys. I mean, I'll be with you, but I'll be as far away from you as I can. Does he say, hey, get yourselves together? And when you get yourself together, come and find me. I'll be somewhere. If you get yourself together, you'll be able to find me. Does he create more distance between himself and people? No, he doesn't. He creates a system. This sacrificial system that's in Leviticus, chapters 1-7, is not God being cold. It's not God being bureaucratic or trying to be difficult and like, hey, I'm gonna make it really hard for you to get to me. No, it's the opposite. It's God being honest about what sin costs. And your sin and my sin costs so much. But he's like, I want to be near you. And so he builds a plan, a relationship plan, a way, a journey to bring them back into relationship with him. Why? Because he wants to be close to them. I think of it as a father. There's nothing in the world that my kids could do that I would not try and get back to them. Fight to get back to them. Claw to get back in relationship with them. If they went away from me, I would clear the way in any way I could to be able to make a way where they could come back to me. I tell them all the time, I would literally die for you. But now, if you've raised teenagers, you know you would also kill them in the same breath. It's just both. I'll die for you, but I'm also gonna cut you today. Like one of those two. But I would do anything to get to them, anything to make a way for them. And that's the Father's heart, right? And that's God. So God says, hey, I want to stay in the midst of the camp. I want to be with you in relationship with you. So I want to do all of this so that the people can stay close. And so look at how it starts. It starts in Leviticus. It says this, if any of you, in 1 verse 3, if any of you want to present an animal from the herd as a burnt offering to the Lord. So an offering to the Lord is a part of this sacrificial system to make right with God. You must present a male animal without defects. Bring it to the entrance of the tabernacle. So he says, bring it all the way up to the entrance of where eventually my presence is. Bring it to the entrance of the tabernacle so that you may be accepted by the Lord. In fact, say that whole thing. Say, so that you may be accepted by the Lord. Make it about you. Say, so that I may be accepted by the Lord. That's the whole thing right there. That's Leviticus. God is not trying to keep people out. He is building the system that lets them in. See, a lot of times with religion, we picture God like going, I don't want to be around you. You're not good enough. You get out of my presence. I don't want to be in your presence. You go to hell. I don't want to be in your presence. You go over here. You do this. You do this. I'm too good for you. No. God is building a system to where he's going, I want to make a way that I can be in relationship with you. And it works. The system works. The relationship works. It's maintained. Even when they sin, they come back to him. They repent to him. They're not abandoned by God. They abandon God sometimes, but God never abandons them. God stays in the camp. But there's a cap, a limit to what the system can do. The people can approach the tabernacle. They can get there, but they can't go all the way in. There's a place in that tent that they can't even enter. There's a door that is not open to them, that they can't get to the presence of God. Not yet. And so I want you to picture the tabernacle for a minute. Not as a concept, but as an actual place that you would be standing near if you were an Israelite. So you're an Israelite. You live in the camp. Every morning, you wake up and you can see the tabernacle right there in front of you. And you can see the cloud of God's presence resting on it. You know that God is there. You can feel it. It's like when you're praying and you can just feel that God is with you. It's like when you're reading the scriptures and you know like God is in this. He's speaking to me in this. It's like when you feel in worship and they can see it. They can feel that God is there. But here's what this temple, this layout or this tabernacle layout means to you personally. The outer court is where you can go. You bring your offering to the outer court. You participate in the life of the community. You are present. This is your space, but this is as far as you can go. Remember, again, it says, bring it to the entrance of the tabernacle so that you may be accepted by the Lord. So you can get right up to the entrance. You can leave your offering, but that's where you got to go so that you may be accepted by the Lord. But inside, there's the holy place. Now that's for the priests, trained, consecrated, set apart, specifically for this role. And if you're not a priest, the holy place is not for you. Full stop, you can't go in there. In fact, the scripture tells us in Numbers chapter 3, verse 10, only Aaron and his sons, and then their lineage after them, are to perform the duties of the priesthood. Anyone else who comes too near the sanctuary, listen to this, must be put to death. It's just showing us how serious sin is and that there is a separation from a holy God and unholy people. And so then you would move through and then there's the veil. And it's this thick curtain, 60 feet tall, woven from blue and purple linen and thread. Behind it is the most holy place, the Holy of Holies, the place where the Ark of the Covenant sits, where the very presence of God. The two golden cherubims are there facing each other, and the very presence of God is in that place. And that's where God is, behind this veil, this thick veil that separates God. So you bring it to the tabernacle, but you can't go into the tabernacle. And then inside the tabernacle, the priests can be there, but they can't go into the Holy of Holies because God is too good and too holy. And so nobody goes in there, not the priest, not the worship leaders, not the most devoted, most sincere, most faithful person in the entire of Israel. Nobody except one person, once a year, the high priest, on the Day of Atonement, another part of the system that God built to get people close to him. And so just to make sure that we understand too the seriousness of sin and what it can cost, before God even gives instructions to Moses about this Day of Atonement that we're going to talk about, he reminds him of what happened to Aaron's two sons who were priests when they didn't follow the instructions of God to bridge this gap, to get to the veil. They didn't follow it. It says the Lord spoke to Moses after the death of Aaron's two sons who died after they entered the Lord's presence, got past that veil, and burned the wrong kind of fire before him. So they went into a place that they could only go if they did it the way that God has said. Why? Because there's a cost to sin and you have to be made right. And so they weren't right before him, and so they died. In fact, when later priests would go into this Holy of Holies, they would tie a rope around their ankle and they would go into that Holy of Holies, but just in case they had not dealt with sin the correct way in their own lives even, they could pull them out if they died. That's how serious sin was. That Nadab and Abihu, they were priests and they had access to the holy place, but they did it with the wrong, unauthorized type of way, and they died. So say it again, say, you can't just go in there. You can't just walk in. You just can't walk in there. Like, you can't do that. That's what I'm saying to Pastor Greg. Like, we can't just walk in there. And that's what we're seeing all throughout this. You can't just walk in there. So then Leviticus 16 describes this whole process, why God builds and how God builds this Day of Atonement. Once a year, Yom Kippur it's called, the high priest goes through an elaborate preparation, special garments, a ritual bath that is actually called a mitzvah, and it is a like baptism that we would have. They would go through this preparation, this bath that they would go through, a ritual, a sacrifice for his own sin before he can stand before God on behalf of anyone else. And then and only then, he takes the blood of the sacrifice, passes through the veil that separates people from God, enters that most holy place, and makes atonement for every sin the entire nation of Israel has ever committed. He goes in so that the people don't have to. Now, if you're thinking ahead to the New Testament, you see it, right? He goes so that the people don't have to, is what the high priest says. He carries a weight that they cannot carry. He crosses a threshold that they cannot cross. And because he does, the relationship holds. God gets to stay in the camp around the people. The people stay close to God, but every year you have to do it again. Every year the high priest has to go back through the veil with the blood of the sacrifice. He has to go again. Every year the blood of another animal covers a year's worth of sin. The system works, but it never quite finishes. Something's coming. Something that the whole system points towards is coming. Someone who won't just go in once a year, but will open the door. And this whole system is pointing to what we really need is someone to open the door permanently. But before I connect those dots for you completely, I want you to see something else in Leviticus and that we're going to come back to next week, actually. And what we're going to see in Leviticus as we come back next week is because the sacrificial system and the holiness laws in the books are not just about access. They are about who Israel is becoming. Like, it's not just about, I want to get access to God, but he's forming a people. What did he say? I will be your God and you will be my people. God is not just managing a sin problem. He's forming a people. Just like now, he's not just managing your sin. He's forming something out of you. He's giving a nation of former slaves a way of being in the world that is distinctly, visibly, recognizably different. He is giving them identity, just like the cross gives you identity. And next week, we're gonna dig into what the clean and unclean laws actually is about. And I promise you, it's not just about food. It's not just about bathing and what you can wash and not wash. And I want you to come back next week for that because we're going to talk about what this all is about. How do we get made clean and what is unclean and how does that all work? But now back to Atlanta. You remember Atlanta? Remember where I was? We somehow walked past the security, somehow got into the auditorium space, and we made it past the front, and Pastor Greg is moving through the building like he knows exactly where he's going. And I am just following behind him, still trying to match his energy, still trying to look like I know exactly what I'm doing when I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I'm guessing every turn, like where's he gonna go, what's gonna happen. So finally we go to this staircase, and we go up this staircase, and then we go in this corridor, and we walk past more staff members who somehow just wave us past again. And we end up in the section of this building where nobody else is. And we're like the only ones walking down this corridor. So we've twisted and we've turned and we've walked and I'm following him and we get this corridor. Nobody's here. We're past all the people. And then we get up to a wall. Well, it's not a wall really, but it's pipe and drape. And if you've seen pipe and drape like this at an event, and when you see pipe and drape like this at an event, what this is saying is what's behind here is not for you. We don't want you to see it. We don't want you to experience it. We put this up, in fact, so that you would stop and turn around. And so as we're going down that corridor, I'm walking down the corridor with Pastor Greg. I see that up ahead. I'm like, he's going to turn around. So I'm starting to turn around because I'm like, we've gotten to the end of the road for us. But Pastor Greg doesn't do that. He goes right up to the thing and he's like, hey, what's going on here? Now, it's because normal people turn around, right? Now, how many of you are people who like, you see something like that and you're like, I want to know what's on the other side of it. I need to go back there. How many of you are normal, people who just go, I'm gonna turn around. They don't want me to be back there. Yeah, that's me. I'm like, they made a rule. I'm supposed to follow it. I'm not gonna go back there. There's no reason for me to go back there. And so, no. Pastor Greg, he comes up to the pipe and drape and he goes, hey, let's just see. And he goes, hey, there's a door back here. Let's go see what's back there. And I'm like, you can't just walk in there. Like, I'm thinking, in my mind, I'm dying just a little bit of like, what are we walking into? What are we getting ready to see? So hidden in the fabric, the seam, there's this gap. He opens it, and there, where it was hidden from everybody else, completely invisible to everybody else, is this door. And so we walk through the door. We step through the door, and all of a sudden, we are in a VIP box overlooking the whole arena where this is going on. The best seats in the house. They got snacks. They've got nice chairs. They're leaning back in their chairs and they're talking. And I'm walking, and I mean, my eyes are adjusting to the darkness that we were in. So now we're in this room. And as we walk in, I look around, and there, right across from me, is Craig Groeschel. Now, you may not know who Craig Groeschel is, but Craig Groeschel is the founder and pastor of the largest church in the entire country. Like over 100,000 people attend in person every single weekend, Craig Groeschel's church. And he's sitting in that room. And then I look over here. Now, I already know him, but I see Stephen Furtick, and I'm like, hey, how are you doing? I didn't know I was going to see you today. What's up? And then I look in the middle, and there's a guy named Bobby Grunwald. Now, you don't know who Bobby Grunwald is. I know you don't. But I guarantee you on your phone, more than 70% of you probably have the YouVersion app on your phone, right? You got the Bible app, the YouVersion phone? Yeah, on your phone. Bobby Grunwald invented that. Like, he's the guy who came up with the idea. And he's sitting there, and they're in this room. And I'm like, what is happening right now? What is going on? How did we go from outside in a parking lot buying plane tickets 8 hours before we needed to fly to no ticket, can't even get a ticket, to all of a sudden now we're in this room where we are being treated like VIP, watching the conference like this in this way. I can't even imagine what's going on. Now, I didn't fully understand it. It's taken me a while to understand what was going on, but I want to tell you what was actually going on. It was not my fast walk. Like the fact I walk fast, that wasn't it. It was not even my confidence, and I have a lot of confidence. I've got some confidence. I'll walk in there. It wasn't that. It was not some talent I have for looking like I belong somewhere and like just look like you belong. They'll let you in. They'll let you. It wasn't that. It was actually nothing that I brought to the moment. I didn't bring anything to the moment at all. It was I didn't have anything. It was who I was with. See, Pastor Greg Surratt is one of the most unassuming people that you'll ever meet in the world. He would never say this about himself, but he's a pretty big deal. In fact, when he tells this story, I've listened to him tell it, he'll tell the story like it was just dumb luck. Like, we just went there, we just gave it a try, we got there. But he's a significant people in the world of churches. In his phone, he has the numbers for people that own the Catalyst Conference. In his phone, after decades of relationships, he knows pastors. He says, hey, are you going to this? Where are you at? Where are you gonna be at? Hey, oh yeah, go down this corridor. Walk down this corridor. Yeah, go up the steps when you get there. Hey, I've told the security just to look out for you. Just wave at them. Tell them who you are as you're walking in. And then you're gonna get this place. There's gonna be some pipe and drape. And is this the right pipe and drape? Hey, let's look back here, see if there's and then he looks back and sees that there's there. And so he's paid a price with his life and his reputation, a price that no ticket purchase could have ever covered. So we could have bartered outside. We could have been like, hey, would you give up your ticket? We'll give you some money. There's a number we could have found to get a ticket, right? Somebody would have been like, if you're gonna give me that amount of money, I'll go have a nice lunch. I'll see you guys later, right? But we couldn't have bought, there's no amount of money that could have bought tickets to where the VIP place where we were at. We couldn't have gotten there. But he makes one text, one call, and because they knew him, the doors open. Because they knew him, nobody asked any questions. Because they knew him, the pipe and drape had the door, but we could get behind it. See, I got in there because of who he was, not because of who I am. And that's the book of Leviticus. There is a passage in the book of Hebrews that explains this so wonderfully. I want to read it to you. It's from the book of Hebrews. Was written to a Jewish audience, people who understood the tabernacle, people who knew what the Day of Atonement was, even more than we do, people who knew what it meant that there was a veil that separated. Only one person could go back, and that was just to pay for the sins of the others. And the writer of Hebrews explains what's going on in the book of Hebrews to us wonderfully and what has happened because of Jesus and how we can walk through that. And it says, and so, dear brothers and sisters, those of us who've allowed Jesus to save us, and so, dear brothers and sisters, we can boldly enter heaven's most holy place. To a Jewish audience, this would have been wild. We can do what? You go tie a rope around our leg because we're not coming out. Like how are we going to boldly enter? No, you can boldly enter heaven's most holy place. In fact, what he's saying is it's going to be with you. It's going to be inside of you because of the blood of Jesus. By his death, Jesus opened a new and life-giving way through the veil, through that curtain, into the most holy place. And since we have a great high priest, Jesus, who rules over God's house, let us go right into the presence of God with sincere hearts, fully trusting him. Did you hear that? A new and life-giving way through the curtain. On the day that Jesus died, in Matthew chapter 10, it tells us that the curtain that separated us from God, that it tore from the top to the bottom. That veil that was separating us from the presence of God, it tore from the top to the bottom, all the way down. Not from the bottom where somebody could have grabbed it and made it fall. No, it tore from the top, like something on the other side was making a point and saying, you can now be close to me. You can now be in the holy place. You can now have the presence of God close to you, and I want to be there with you. See, God didn't close the door. God pulled down the veil, tore the veil so that we could be in his presence. God did something for you and for us, and we're seeing it in the book of Leviticus that it's pointing towards Jesus. He revealed a way. He revealed a system that though it was flawed, was just pointing to the fact that one day someone would come whose blood would be for once and for all, who would be both the lamb and the high priest, who would tear the veil so that you and I could be in. He opened it permanently for everyone. Jesus is the high priest. And on our behalf, he is the one who carries the weight you cannot carry. He's the one who crosses the threshold that you cannot cross. And he paid a price because you could not pay it. Just like there was no possible way that I could ever have found a ticket to the VIP place that we got into. There was no amount of money that could get me there. He paid the price that we couldn't pay. You get access to that. The pipe and drape is down. And here's one more thing. I want you to see this. Not only did he want to live among us and be close to us, which is enough, right? God, you want to live among us and be close to us? He said, no, there's more to life. There's more than that. I want to build a rhythm in your life. Sabbath every single day. Leviticus is going to teach us this. Sabbath every single day. I'm going to build this in your life. 7 feasts every year that he laid out, that we can have holy presence with him. A Sabbath every year, a Sabbath year every 7 years, a Jubilee every 50 years. He lays out these things in Leviticus that are teaching us about a rhythm to our life. That now is something that it's our pauses. It's our time with God, studying with him. It's recognizing the gospel in our lives. All of these things. He says, I want you to have those moments because I don't want you just to be near me. I want you to know me. And so rhythm and rest is built into the whole system and what we have. And so over this series, we're going to talk about what it looks like to actually live inside of what God has created for us. This ability to have now we walk around with, we are the temple. And the presence of God is no longer in the Ark of the Covenant. It is in us. And so we get to walk with that presence, taking that presence. But here's what I think happens for most of us in this. We hear about this and we go, okay, well, wait a minute. I gotta buy a ticket. I gotta figure out how to buy a ticket. If I wanna go to the conference, I gotta buy a ticket. If I wanna be in the presence of God, I gotta buy a ticket. Now, I haven't done enough good things, and so I need to do some more good things and needs to weigh out my bad things. And hopefully, I'll get a ticket and it'll take me right up to the presence of God at least. I'll get close. Now, I'm not gonna be able to ever get past this veil. I'm gonna turn around. That's gonna be the stop for me. But at least I can do enough good stuff. And so you're trying to earn your way, trying to figure out how you can earn God's approval. And what I'm here to tell you is I got into that section. You couldn't have bought a ticket. You can't buy a ticket to get into God's presence. There's nothing you can do. And so that's some of you wrestle with that. Some of you go, listen, you can tie all the ropes around my ankle you want to, but you're gonna be pulling me out. Because I've lived a life that this is too much. I've gone through seasons you don't know about. And I just know for me, it's too much. God's never gonna allow me to be in his presence. And both of those are the same lie, wearing the same clothes. Wearing different clothes. It's just the same lie going, you've gotta do something or what you've done is too much. And what God is saying is, no, I tore the veil down so that you can see through the lens of the cross. I've always wanted to be with you. You just didn't want to be with me. I've always wanted to be in relationship with you. You walked from the garden from me, but I've made a way I've shown up and I've done what I needed to do so that I could be in relationship with you. And so that's what Leviticus says to us. It says, I'm gonna make a way so that I can live right in the midst of your presence. And you can come to me when you need to, and you can be with me, and I wanna be there with you. And God permanently tore the veil. And so for some of you, you just need to recognize that. And you need to know that you can come before a holy God. The veil has been torn and you can be in his presence because of what he's done. And for some of you, you say, well, I can't do that because I don't know that I've ever allowed Jesus to save me. It says brothers and sisters at the beginning of that Hebrew verse, right? And so we're gonna have a prayer team up here in a moment. What I just wanna encourage you to do is maybe you need to come down and go, I don't know what this all means. And I came and they announced, that y'all were preaching on Leviticus and I had already planned not to be here like the rest of this time. But now I'm like, wait a minute, this is intriguing. Maybe you came to see a baby dedicated today and you're like, I don't know what any of this is. I don't know what's going on. Why don't you come and just ask somebody and say, hey, what does it look like to be in relationship with God? Our prayer team is gonna come, they're gonna be here. They want to pray for you. They've been praying about praying for you. They wanna help you walk boldly into the presence of God. But then also there are those of us here who maybe we've allowed Jesus to save us, but we still think we gotta buy the ticket. And what I want you to do is just to come and to the prayer team maybe, or you go to the cross or to our communion table and you just take communion, you go to the cross, pray with somebody going, hey, he created the path. He wants to be with me. And I can come to him and I can be in his presence because of what he's done. Taking communion, remembering that it's the body and the blood of Jesus that was the high priest, the ultimate sacrifice for us. And so you can go and you can come and pray and say, hey, as he prayed that I would walk boldly into the presence of God. See, there's a lie that says I'm too far gone. Access to God is for other people who have it more together, or I've got to earn my way. But I want to put this declaration over you before we end. Here's what I want you to stand to your feet if you would. And I want this declaration to be something you take out of this place. And I want you to remember this for the rest of your life. And I want you to say boldly, say, the door is open. I don't earn my way in. I walk in because of who I am with. Say it one more time. Say, the door is open. I don't earn my way in. I walk in because of who I am with. That is the declaration that God has over your lives. If you come and you ask God to allow God to save you today, and they pray with you, they've got a little card they're gonna give you. Would you go to the I raise my hand when you leave? They're gonna just help you with your next steps. And then for all of us, we are going to just worship God that he tore the veil. Oh, praise God, he tore the veil. There's no longer anything between us and God. He wants to be with us. And because of that, we get to worship him. So worship, this isn't the time to leave. This isn't a time to check out. We got just a few minutes left. Give this time to God. He gave you your breath that you breathe. Give this to him. And we sing to him and we honor him. God, we thank you so much that we can respond to you. We thank you for the veil that you tore down. We thank you that you are with us. You are for us. You're not against us. And so God, you want to be in relationship with us. Thank you for tearing the veil in Jesus' name, allowing us to be in your presence. Amen.